Ghazi Hamad in Gaza City, welcome to Hard Talk.
Thank you very much.
Let me ask you a simple question. When the people of Gaza ask you how you and the Hamas movement are going to make their lives better, what do you say?
I think we are struggling, we are working day and night in order to ease the life of people in Gaza here. But I think people there understand very well that the reason of this crisis is occupation, is the policy of the siege, is the policy of the blockade, is the pressure on Gaza every day. Because you know Gaza, Israel looked to Gaza as a hostile region, and they try to keep Gaza under siege, blockade, sanctions, and striking every day. I think we are trying to stop this. I think we try to do that through two tracks. First of all, reconciliation, in order to have one authority, one political regime, one system, in order also to be open to the world. And also we are working on the track of the ceasefire agreement. I think we are trying, but I know that situation in Gaza is very critical, very difficult. But I think we have to have a final solution. You know that situation in Gaza, first of all, is not only humanitarian, it is a political. If we put end for the occupation in Gaza, I think people could breathe freedom, dignity, and respect, and they can move everywhere. They can do everything that they want.
Yeah, we understand that there are lots of things that you in Gaza are not able to deliver, and you talk about what you call the Israeli blockade, and you know that we on Hard Talk talk to very senior figures in the Israeli government about their policies toward the Gaza Strip. But I'm interested in what you can control. And the truth is that since Hamas has been in power in Gaza, which we're talking, what, 12, 13 years, in fact, the situation for the people that you represent has gotten so much worse. There's been a near tenfold increase in people who need to survive on food aid, for example. Unemployment is now at a record of nearly 60%. So whatever is in your gift to control, you're not controlling it effectively.
As I said before, Hamas is not so interested to keep control Gaza. I think because of this, we went to the reconciliation since the beginning in 2009. And we started negotiation with our brothers in Fatah. And we told them, let us now to go back to two things. First thing is to have a coalition, a unity government, or we can go to the elections, presidential elections or parliament elections. We know that the situation in Gaza is a big burden. It is a big challenge for us. It's not easy because Gaza is like a big prison. It's closed from all sides. The gates of Gaza are controlled by the occupation. Gaza is under sanctions, under the control of the occupation. So it is not easy to find a genius solution for the situation unless we put in for the occupation here in Gaza.
I understand.
But as I said,
that
we are trying, as I said.
There's no genius solution. I agree, of course, with that. But it does raise questions about the sense of your particular strategy. For example, just a couple of weeks ago, Hamas's military wing, along with Islamic Jihad, took the decision to fire hundreds of rockets into Israel. Now, I'm just wondering how you can convince anybody that that is in the long-term best interests of the people of Gaza, given that it just gives license to the Israeli government to yet again impose the sort of economic blockade, maintain the blockade that you've just talked about.
Look, I think we are living in the big dilemma. We are under the occupation. And then we have to resist against this occupation, because the occupation is the source of all evils and all kinds of troubles in Gaza here. And I think we are fighting the Israeli occupation in order to live in freedom and dignity. I think this is something we could not be blamed for this. I think this is the responsibility of the international community. They should ask Israel, you have to put in for the occupation.
You have to stop this.
You have to stop building settlements.
Let's go through this in detail. You talk about the occupation. Of course, Gaza is not occupied. Israeli forces pulled out of Gaza many years ago. You can talk, as you do, about the economic policies the Israelis implement towards you.
You misunderstand. You have to ask yourself who control the borders, who control the export and import in Gaza.
I understand what you are saying, but there is not an Israeli military troop occupation of Gaza. There used to be,
Yes,
the Israelis pulled
right,
out.
inside Gaza.
You and your forces continue to lob those rockets into Israel, and we had the leader of Islamic Jihad, Ziad al-Nakhaleh, saying just the other day that the firing of the rockets that we saw earlier this month was, to use his words, just a, quote, live fire drill for an upcoming war. And my question is, again, what sense is there in using that kind of language if you want to best represent the people of Gaza?
Look, Stephen, you have to understand we are peaceful people. We want to live like any people in the world. We want to live in freedom. It is enough for us to live in the 70 years of occupation and dilemma and the troubles every day. And I think we are looking to live like you in Britain and everywhere. And we have to stop this. And I think now Israel, please, if you make comparison with what's happening in the West Bank, in West Bank there is no firing rockets, there are no fighting, there are no armed struggle in the West Bank. But in the West Bank, they're building settlements, they confiscate lands, they kill people, they put more than 405 checkpoints, they abuse the president, they now dismantle the Palestinian Authority. Do you have Israel? Why you are doing this? And there are no armed strike against Israel there. I think this is the Israeli mentality that they want to punish, they want to delete the Palestinian identity, they want to destroy our future. They don't want Palestine to establish our state, our future. So I think what happened in the Gaza is the same. It's the same, the policy of the occupation. They want Gaza starving, suffering, people asking just for a piece of the bread. They want Gaza to be like this. They want Gaza to be oppressed and to be broken. And I think we as a Palestinian faction, we want to stop this, and we want to stop this policy. And I think Israel, look, Israel, we started to have a ceasefire agreement with the mediation of the Egyptians and the Qatari and United States, but till now Israel is not committed to this agreement.
Isn't there an alternative?
No, I think they have to break.
There is an alternative possibility, Mr. Hamad, and that is that these sporadic surges of violence between you and the Israelis across this Gaza border, they suit Hamas in some ways because it distracts attention from what is clearly a growing wave of popular protest inside your communities against the rule of Hamas and the mismanagement of the economy. We saw in March unprecedented scale of street protest against Hamas, which was greeted by your security and police officers beating people up, arresting them, torturing them in detention, and you, to take attention away from that, find it very useful to launch your rockets into Israel.
I think this is, maybe you misunderstand the situation, Stephen, very well. I think we are trying here in Gaza, in order to keep the respect of people here, we try to ease the life of the people. We are struggling with other Palestinian faction, with the NGOs, with all sides, in order to make the life happy for people here. But you know that, as I said, it is not easy mission for us. It is not easy mission for Hamas.
That simply isn't true, because you're clearly not working in cooperation with many of the NGOs in Gaza. You're in fact arresting members of important NGOs. During these protests, the Hamas police force not only arrested journalists, they also arrested 2 members of the Independent Commission for Human Rights, a Palestinian watchdog group, and they proceeded to beat them up with dozens of security officers involved. Amnesty International said the human rights violations perpetrated by Hamas against protesters, against journalists and human rights defenders have become more severe than we have seen in more than a decade.
I think if you now have a round or a trip in the jails and the detention centers in Gaza, you will never find a political prisoner here. You will never find a journalist in the detention center. You will not find anyone who is kept because of his political opinion now. I give you a chance now to come to Gaza and to go everywhere and to ask. I don't deny that there some mistakes were done in the past with some people here and there, but I think we are under stronger pressure, sometimes from the occupation, sometimes from our brothers in Ramallah. They try to incite people now to go out against Hamas outside, to create kind of chaos, to kind of violence here in Gaza. And I think we are trying to keep Gaza, as I said, as a calm, as a quiet area, because we want our people to live in dignity and freedom.
Do you look at...
Please, Stephen, you can come to Gaza, you can ask all Palestinian factions and NGOs if there is just only one, a journalist or political activist in the prisons of Hamas here in Gaza.
I don't know if you use social media, Ghazi Hamad, but have you seen the widely circulated videos of the protesters in Gaza saying things like, and I'm quoting one woman that I've seen on video, saying the sons of Hamas leaders have houses, they have jeeps and big cars, they can get married, it's no problem for them, while ordinary people here have nothing, not even a piece of bread. When you see those sorts of videos on social media, how do you respond to them?
I don't think that you should now accept everything in the social media.
I agree with you.
As I said, because sometimes you try to make...
I'm just suggesting there is a wave of opinion in the communities inside Gaza which is problematic for you and your leadership.
Please, I hope that you can come to Gaza and sit with people with different factions. I don't deny that there are some people who criticize Hamas. There are some people, they don't like Hamas, that's right. But now, if you come to Gaza, there is some kind of democratic elections here in Gaza, in the universities. We asked the Palestinian faction to share with us in order to rule the Gaza Strip here. We sat many times with the Palestinian NGOs here in Gaza in order to listen to them. If they have violation, criticism against Hamas here, I think we are open. We try to correct and we try to do everything good for people here. We are not angels. I don't say that we don't make mistakes, but in general, I think we are doing very hard in order to keep Gaza calm and quiet. We try to avoid any kind of political arrest or closing the mouths of people or to stop the people talking there or to express their opinions. I think many articles are written here in Gaza and they're criticizing Hamas. They are speaking very sharply, very loudly, and no one stopped them.
You gave access to a BBC documentary team last year to look at how one particular day in the March of Return went. It was a day, I believe, in May 2018, May 14th, and the BBC film crew showed Palestinians, including women, saying that they were being organized. We line up like a human shield so that the men can advance further. It did seem to portray a very careful coordination by Hamas security forces of this March of Return. And I just want to know whether in the future, from now on, whether Hamas is going to continue to use the March of the Return in the way it appears to have used it in the past.
Look, sometimes when we adopt the military resistance, they say Hamas is a terrorist organization. And we will now try to go to the peaceful means. They said this is also a terrorism against Israel. And I think when people, they went to the borders and they're just peaceful people, they don't have guns, they don't have even stones, they don't have grenades, they have nothing, just people who protest in order to get the attention of the world that there is a crisis in Gaza, that people, they deserve a state, people deserve dignity. And since the beginning of this peaceful march, since 2018, we have about 300 people were killed.
Indeed.
Most of them are children, most people are innocent people, and most of them are women, and no one account Israel or stop them.
Well,
we have about 30,000 people were injured. We try to keep it as peaceful because it is our slogan in order to keep this march as a peaceful march. It is not a military march. And you will never find anyone he is a military.
Okay, so we challenge the Israelis on their use of lethal force. Believe me, ministers have been challenged many times on this program. But when Palestinians amongst the protesters say things like this, quote, some of us distracted the Israelis with stones and Molotov cocktails before an attempt was made to cut the border fence. Are you telling me that Hamas wasn't aware of that? It seems it was very carefully organized under Hamas's security control.
Look, I think, Stephen, we don't want anyone to be injured. We don't want anyone to be killed. And I think we are, it's not shame. I think it is our job. We try to prevent people from being killed. It is our job. It's our people. We don't want to expose them to be killing by the Israeli sniper. The Israeli sniper, they are sitting on the borders.
If you line up women and children like a human shield so the men can advance further, that to me is the very opposite of safeguarding the safety of your civilian population.
We want to prevent people to be killed. So, and now we have sometimes kind of negotiation and talks through the Egyptian mediation in order to have a ceasefire agreement. So I think we don't want people, or more people to be killed or more people to be injured. But you know, you have to understand now, the Israeli sniper in the borders, they are sitting, they are comfortable, they use guns, they kill people, they shoot people in their head, in their abdomen, in their knees. And as I said, we have about more than 3,000-4,000 people are handicapped now. People, in addition to that, about more than 20,000 people. We want Israel to stop shooting people or to use live ammunition against people, because it is a peaceful march. But I'm so astonished because the international community is keeping silent. Sometimes they blame Hamas for firing rockets, but they don't also blame Israel for killing the innocent people in the borders, including children and women.
Isn't the truth, Qazi Hamad, that Hamas has been in power in Gaza for an awful long time? Benjamin Netanyahu has been in power for an awful long time in Israel, and of course has just won another election. And the truth is, it suits both you in Hamas and Netanyahu to have the other as the reliable enemy. There is some sort of strange symbiotic relationship which leaves both of you actually satisfied with the status quo because it allows you to perpetuate your own power.
No, I think there is a big difference. I think, as I said, we want to put end for the occupation. Netanyahu is not so interested now to end the problems of Gaza. He tried with the different choices. He tried through military strikes against Gaza. He threw the collective sanctions, through the military strikes against, through the policy of blockade. But I think he failed. Now Gaza is like a bone in his throat. He could not swallow it. He could not throw it outside. So I think Israel should understand that they could not break the bones.
Sorry, Ghazi Hamad, I don't mean to interrupt too much, but if I may say so, surely the truth is the very opposite, that Netanyahu uses the rhetoric of you and your leadership in Hamas as a reason why he will not engage in any land for peace deal, will not talk about a two-state solution, because he quotes leaders like Fatih Hamad of Hamas, who said just the other day, on the commemoration of the day that you call the Al-Nakba, the catastrophe of 1948, Fatih Hamad said this. He said that there will be victory, there will be an uprooting of the Zionist enemy from our land. And to Israel's leaders, he said, go away, the day of your slaughter and elimination is nearing. You have no place in Jerusalem, Haifa, and Jaffa.
Look, I don't take care about what Netanyahu says. Netanyahu could lie for his people. He could lie for the international community. I think he is full of lies and fabricated sayings.
But I'm asking you, but I'm asking you whether the language I've just quoted from Fatih Hamad is useful, is in the best interests of the people of Gaza. Yes or no?
Look, I think Hamas said many times that we accept a state, Palestinian state, and 67 borders. But I think we are not ready to recognize the right of Israel, because I think Israel is a state of the occupation. I think you should not blame the Palestinians. You should blame the occupation and Israel, because Israel all the time is supplying the occupation either in West Bank, in the Gaza. They are supplying, they're supporting the killing of the Palestinian people. So I think maybe some people are very angry, other people upset. Now, if you look to the other side, to the Fatah and the President Abbas, he spent 27 years in peaceful talks and negotiation with Israel, but he got nothing. He got big zero. He got more settlements, more confiscation of lands, more isolation in West Bank. We got nothing. So what the choice is left for the Palestinians? Let us now, just people, they want the Palestinians to be polite and just to flow flowers for the Israeli occupation forces and just to keep silent.
Well,
I think it is not logic.
No,
it is not fair. We have to struggle against the occupation.
Right. No one would argue that the last 70 years have worked out very well for the Palestinians, so maybe it's time for fresh thinking. Donald Trump and his team apparently are going to launch their so-called deal of the century, new plan for Israeli-Palestinian peace in June. It seems their focus will all be on economic incentives, not major political initiatives, but economic incentives to get tens of billions of dollars into the Palestinian communities if they're prepared to make a peace, albeit with difficult decisions. Are you prepared to listen to the Trump deal?
Look, I think somebody is he's the best stupid president in the world. I think he's wasting time because for two things. Now, no one is convinced that Trump is doing the right. He has no plan in his mind. I think he understands that he's an empire of the world. He could have changed everything. He could have changed. Now he gave Israel Jerusalem. He gave him a Golan Heights. Now I think he's ready to give him Iraq and Qatar and Oman and all the Middle East. I think he thinks that he could, by his pencil, he could give Israel everything. I think that the deal of the century will not be achieved, will not be done, because all Palestinians, either in the left or on the other side, they're against this. And I think the Arabic world, the Muslim world, they are against the plan of the deal of the century. So I think he will fail, and I assure that today or tomorrow, Trump, he will not able to do anything to convince the Palestinians or the Arabs to accept his plan. So I think he should put it aside and think with something else.
And do you think that that kind of rejectionism, before you've even heard what the plan is truly in the interests of the people of Gaza, who, have, we've said from the beginning of this interview, are suffering the most terrible economic deprivations right now?
No, I think we don't just reject, because I think according to 70 years, no one gave us a final solution, Stephen. No one gave the Palestinians a positive initiatives. I think they are lying and lying, including Europe, including the United States, including the international community. They are just lying. They gave just the Palestinian people and tranquilizers, try to tell him that you have to wait. The American elections, the Israel elections, you have to wait for the French initiatives, the Britain initiatives. I think we wasted 70 years and we are still living under the occupation. We are losing everything. So I think now the economic solution is not a solution. It is not a solution. We as a Palestinians, we are looking for a political solution which says, frankly, the end of the occupation, the Palestinians deserve a state, we have to establish our state, the occupation is over. This is our plan, but you should not deceive us with some piece of bread, with some money, with some financial solution. I think we are not poor people for money. We are poor just for freedom.
Ghazi Hamad, we have to end there, but I thank you very much for joining me from Gaza.